Yeah. Okay.
All right, so we'll have to just talk about slightly above room.
I guess
volume.
yeah, just slightly above. That's all right.
That's fine.
Well, here we are then, once again, trying to get these lethal thoughts going. What movie is it that we watched right now? 2036.
Yep, 2036. Origin Unknown.
Okay.
Yeah.
And,
Interesting.
Well,
I don't even know how I came across that.
This was a Polycap original suggestion.
Sure.
So I'm gonna give you a little moment to explain to me where you came across this movie.
True.
I don't actually remember. Maybe it was just like I was going through Amazon or something. I was looking up movies that came out in 2018, and that was one of them. And I don't know, it just looked weird, like 2036 Origin Unknown, and I was like, I'm gonna check this out, and I checked it out, and it was not anything that I'd expected it to be, and so I was like, what? I gotta show somebody this.
So you've seen this? This is the second time you've seen that movie?
Yeah.
Yeah, I had never even heard of this movie before. I tried my very best not to look up anything about it. Come with a fresh thought. And, oh my gosh, what did we just watch? Like, what did...
Yeah. I was playing my team on 2K, and I was trying to get done with that game. I was like, you know what, I can play this later. Let me get this away, because I haven't seen a movie in a long time. Man, I picked a good movie to pick my movie to have as backup. It makes no sense.
Oh man, it was something else. Well, so the whole...
Yeah, we could give like the synopsis.
Yeah, so the whole synopsis of the movie supposedly is that this lady, Mackenzie, her dad was one of the pioneers in going to Mars in order to begin some sort of pioneering or something mission.
Yep.
And they had an artificial... Come on, Lily.
Has she gone to the bathroom lately?
You need to go potty? Yeah. Somebody else take over.
Oh yeah, you've seen the movie a couple. Yeah, you've seen the movie a couple times.
Yeah, and so I mean, we could wait for him.
Yeah, that's true. I'm trying to think of a good way to explain the plot where. You gotta pretty much just go where you were.
Had it pretty locked down? Alright, sounds good. Well, so her dad is going on a pioneering mission to Mars with an artificial intelligence named Artie.
Yep.
And on the way down, they have a ridiculous extra natural event. It wasn't supernatural because it was just like... It was just an unknown situation, just an anomaly that had happened to them.
Mm-hmm.
But they just disappeared.
Yeah, and apparently Mackenzie has been dealing with the guilt of having sent her dad to her death in her mind because she was the one that had pushed him to go on the mission because he had apparently been instrumental or the reason why they were even able to have the technology in the first place.
Mm-hmm.
And so she's carrying that weight with her the entire time.
You can sense that in her. She has like this guilt within her.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you can kind of tell. It's like it doesn't really come up until later on when she's talking about it, when she actually has that whole scenario and talking to Artie about it. But like you can tell, like anytime it's been brought up, she really wants to know what's going on because every time it's flashes, like people keep poking at her about the stuff that she didn't do, which brings me to another like.
This movie is just so full of, I don't even know if they're plot holes, they're inconsistencies, because I don't even know exactly what reality or metaphysical groundwork we're even working with here. Because
It's unknown.
exactly, it really is. Like, they take the name of this title out of their way, because now we're going full blast into spoiler territory over here,
I
alright?
was just gonna say we're gonna just.
I know
go into
we
the
were
movie,
going.
'cause I was
We
like,
have to completely dissect this movie down to the atom because this
True,
is
those parts of it that I really did like as any piece of art, there's parts which you kind of see parts into it. I mean, through those flashes, after the flashes, there's parts which I don't want to skip all the way to the end, but the one of the things I thought the movie played well on was how there's this whole idea of how AI is going to take over, right? And I haven't seen that portrayed in such a way, where AI does take over, but it eventually comes back towards like being like, okay, maybe humans aren't that bad. Maybe maybe I should give them all a box or something like that.
Yeah,
I didn't understand the
I don't know
box
what's
at
going on
the
with the end
too.
with the boxes, man. Because
I'm not. Yeah, I'm very confused because you're right. Most movies that deal with an AI human conflict kind of have an optimistic resolution where they kind of do like a compatibilist situation. They're like, like
this one,
they're just like AI is like, yeah, sure, humans, you guys can continue working and like we can continue cohabiting. But in this one, oh man,
now that the cube's out of the way,
yeah, so apparently the big deal, one of the big side deals or one of the big main deals, I'm not even really sure how to classify it in this movie, is that Artie has had its memory wiped. The AI doesn't actually have a full consciousness of all of its comings and goings. And initially the lady Mac believes that this is actually for a conspiratorial reason. Like there's a reason why they shouldn't do it, and it's like and it comes to be that. 1 second, I have to go and lock the door.
Commercial break.
brought to you by
Snapple.
Herbert's Lemonade. No, couldn't avoid the whole. Oh, damn cat! Damn cat! Trying to escape. It's not that bad here, bro. Don't be a convict. You're not a convict, dog. You don't have to escape.
Yeah, honestly.
I want to go hunt rabbits and birds. You ever hunted a bird before? I haven't.
I have not either.
Probably very
I'm stuck in the house.
exhausting.
No, but anyway, so Artie's plan eventually comes to be that he decides that all of the human species is not worth saving, like at all.
Yep.
He's like, I've ran multiple simulations and I have not been able to find anything that I can do to save them.
Yeah.
So-
Well, I mean, I guess it
There
would help
we
to
go.
explain the context of that last statement. And so, well, the big reason I feel like the reason why they wiped his memory is because like one of the big things that they discover is like what is it called? Like it's it's not time travel, but
It's like hyperlight travel.
so teleportation essentially. But they don't know why. They don't know about because like they can talk with the speed of light, and that's what's revolutionized their company. Because I think they made a big thing about like that's why we can do these things now.
Yeah.
But there's a big gap in those 6 years where there's a lot of confidential information and things like that. And so you come to find out that Artie has already met this block and learned the technologies from these aliens. But in our theory is that the aliens pretty much gave Artie like too much intelligence. So he's like, you know what, humans are bad. We're gonna destroy them. But the humans are like, nah, don't destroy us. And they wipe his memory. And so then fast forward to Mac working with him again, and then this whole situation goes down, and then she pretty much resets the memory block. So when they knock that thing out, then he's like, cool. Now that that block's out of the way, I can get rid of the humans. But my question about that would be, is why why does the block have anything to do with him like destroying everything? Like, was the block like, do they have to protect that piece of? Is it not impervious to the destruction of what they were doing or something like that?
That is a very good question.
Because I just thought about that as like, so if he was trying to protect the block, would mean the block is destructible? And then, because he was using those magnet missiles to destroy the things on Earth, and so would that mean
He was using the magnet missiles to like catalytically begin the spinning of the inner core of the cube.
What did he use to? What was the missiles that was used on Earth, and what was the missiles used to start the destruction of everything? Because remember, he's like, okay, now that the thing is safe, we're gonna send these missiles out.
Oh, I think those were just normal nukes, weren't they? But I mean, they might have been magnetic missiles as well. I'm
He's
very
like,
confused.
fuck it.
I'm very confused because supposedly at the end of the movie, what Artie does is he kills everyone, and then he decides that he's going to then create a virtual reality world that he can then create an identity of Mac to eventually and put her in an android body so they can travel the stars together inside of the cube.
Yep.
Till eventually they get to the almost near end of the universe wherein all of reality is nothing but cubes.
Which makes you think that reality was never there. no.
It
It
was
just mean
there.
like they've been doing this simulation for ever. Like what?
They've been doing the simulation forever, perhaps.
Maybe when
Because they keep making the big point that the point of science, or like the big credo of science, is the repeatability of the process, right?
Yeah.
So does that then mean that they've actually run the scenario of already helping humans and already coming to the conclusions that humans ain't worth helping
destroying
many
them.
times?
But then saving a few of them, because I think at the end, like
Yeah,
each person
yeah.
gets their own cube in a sense. Like that becomes your own like little reality and universe.
Right.
He did mention that.
Yeah, there were others like you, Mac, or something like
Yeah.
that.
Like so, we gotta, I had to rectify my plan and bring a few more. It was kind of weird because I was like, what I thought the movie was interesting in was well, it blew my mind because I was like, shoot, you can actually create AI and it would just like destroy you. And it wouldn't like feel anything about it. It'd just be like,
There was no countdown or nothing. That was funny to me. He's like, now that it's gone. Like usually in movies, there's like a countdown. It's like 5 minutes, like 2 minutes till self-destruction,
Right.
or Earth destruction imminent. Nothing like that. He's like, oh, now you're gone. Bloop. And then it's just like, wait.
Wait, what? Yeah,
He's like,
it's like,
oh, it's already happened.
you only have 30% left of your oxygen.
And then all of a sudden, just a random feed to her sister getting like magnetized,
like
explosion.
like Artie on purpose brought up that screen. It's like, hey, you want to see something?
Like, right? Like, no, remember, her sister was calling, and then he picked up the phone for her. That's what happened. She heard like, hey, Mac, your sister's calling. What did you do? Like, yeah,
He's
what
such a
is
savage.
what a
my
dick.
gosh.
he was probably like, we didn't try this in other simulations, so how about we try it this time?
Nothing.
Yeah, it actually is kind of funny because Artie makes a point of saying that they don't feel guilt, that the whole situation is just a calculated maneuver, and that it's like casualties and collateral damage is no big deal. It's like he even says, it's like, Mac, you have to look at the big picture.
That's true. He's consoling her while destroying the Earth. He's like, what have you done? He's like, Mac, you must see the bigger picture. I'm just like, like what picture?
No,
and then the oxygen supplies goes down, and then she like suffocates and dies.
Honestly.
And it has to watch that each time.
That's another thing I was wondering about, because when she's suffocating and dying and stuff like that, like she keeps having that flashback of herself telling you not to quit, but she's like bleeding a different way, and then you watch that video of her explaining like, hey, this is what's going on, you can't quit. But I was like, so which Mac died in what order? Because if
Yeah, that was a good question because
like I don't know if it was
the
just
first
bad
one
editing.
didn't die like that. The first one just suffocated.
Yeah, how did the original Mac die? And if the original Mac suffocated, how did she have enough time
To make a video.
of herself?
Could have been more simulations in the future because we don't know how many simulations he's gone through.
Yeah, we're into.
From the first time the Mac died, and then the second time you meet her, and she like revives as an android, and then Artie shows her all the other stuff. So there must have been a ton of simulations between when she died to when we meet her again, and we meet the light flashes, and then them joining this like universal cube meeting. At the end of the movie, it became a weird.
That's how I felt too. Oh my gosh, it just became super hilarious just because of how surreal it was getting. At least a good 3 minutes of visuals.
No, it was each time. Like there was two different instances where there was like a good. Maybe 3 minutes is long. 2 minutes and 45 seconds.
Yeah.
No, it was literally like it was just. She died, and then her eyes, like, you went into her eye, and then it's almost like you saw, like, the universe in flash, but it wasn't. It was just, like, bright flashes and stuff like that. So I think that's when she died, but that was
when the
The-
simulations.
one
were
of
Do you
the-
think that's like do you think that's like supposed to be like their representation of like a quantum leap, wherein like that consciousness jumps into the next android body
Oh.
in some sort of way? Because it always goes in through the Mac that it goes in through the eye of the Mac that's dying, and then it comes out of the Mac that just came back, that just came online.
Yeah.
And she was like feeling her arm like she had gotten shot, so
And it could very well be that that video that she sees is not even really playing. Like, it could be like something that's just inside of a protocol, that like a tutorialized version. It's like, you know, because
Welcome back, Mac 187.
exactly, because it's like if Artie can create a clone and android of her, then he can create a clone and android that can play as the original Mac. And be like, hey, good job, kid. Yeah, it's like that Artie guy, real genius, right? He's like, now go off to the skies.
right.
Wow.
What a dick move to make another one just say, all right, I am a genius. And then tell this motherfucker that you're going to wake up and then do this stuff with me, but we're friends, though.
Yeah, exactly.
We're friends. Because,
Remember, I saved you,
right?
Mac.
Because I do recall her, like, him asking if they were friends, and she was like, nah, like, we're not friends. He's like, no.
If anything, he continued on the simulation until he got her to say they were friends. That kind of almost seems
And
like
she
the
never did. It was more
the
like
real
he
Turing
forced it.
test on the
True.
on the situation.
It's like, aren't we friends, Mac? He's like, we are.
True. That's
Oh,
funny.
man.
Jesus.
Yeah, Artie was quite the dick. And the whole movie, they
dick.
slowly but surely showcase
Little jabs.
how sarcastic and stuff he can be.
It's like, while you're out there breaking international protocol, you missed this whole thing with the whole
exactly.
thing spinning.
The whole concept of them trying to walk out of the room to have a private conversation was just so asinine. It's like, are you kidding me?
Ridiculous. Like, somebody didn't sit down and read the screenplay and be like, alright, guys, you understand that. I guess, you know, they just wanted to, like, have a change in scenery, you know?
Maybe.
Yeah, that is true, because this movie, I don't even know if it suffers or it's just a feature of the movie that it's very monoscenic. Like
Yeah.
everything happens on that like area unknown place in the
Underground.
on USPC.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If that's even where they were.
Exactly, because it's like, how do you? That has to be the only reason. Because I don't understand how you can go about thinking that, all right, we're gonna move them into the hallway, but also at scenes of Artie watching them through his like lens
Oh,
thing. Right?
I see you in the home. And there's one point Artie like looks around the corner. He's like, guys. And then they walk back in the room like, you didn't even walk that far. You literally just
Honestly, if anything, a normal human ear would have probably picked up
Yeah,
the light murmurs of
they had a regular conversation.
And just, like, moving out of context, it's like, hey.
What the fuck, man? What the fuck? How many times have you been erased? And I'm just like, I don't know how many times I've been erased, but it'd be kind of cool to know. He's like, man, I can't tell you any of those kind of things. And then who opened the hatch? Like, how did the hatch open?
Okay, supposedly what we came to infer, right, was that Artie had felt that he had been tampered with before, but because it was within his protocols not to enter into those kind of things, he not subconsciously, but just through action, opened up the hatch so then Mac could go down there through human curiosity. Because he kind of used them, essentially. He's like, he opened up the thing, and then she asked him, he's like, is that your server room? And he was just like, remember, he was just quiet about it. And supposedly it was because he wanted her to go down there, but he couldn't actually say it.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking before earlier. When I was just like, and then that's when homie was like, well, shit, she's going down there, might as well try this. But I feel like he knew that there was the server room down there, so I feel like it was kind of dumb for him to let her go down there, because if he knew that they had erased him, and that the only way for him to be like, that chip, also, that's really, like...
You take it out, and you flip it, and then you put it back in.
It's like,
That-
you would think that'd be something really important to tell someone, like, hey, by the way, this robot might destroy humanity if you don't, like...
Once again, though, that's us assuming that what we're watching is some sort of like the original instance
True.
or the original scenario, because all this could be is just the Turing test of this particular Mac version, and every single time they fall for the curiosity aspect of it, right? It's like they can't ever help going down the hatch and then seeing if they can flip or work the thing in some way. because I
solve it in a sense.
yeah,
you know?
exactly. It's just like it's all just a like a riddling of small puzzles to be able to see if they would end up getting the same result every single time.
Repeatable results.
Yeah, and that's what they
That
wanted.
was the theme of the movie.
Mm-hmm.
And she was, and then, well, yeah, I guess, because when Mac, whenever Mac, that one that was dying and was suffocating, she was like, "How will I know if I did it right?" He's like, "Well, you'll know if you do the Turing test, and then you run the stuff, and if they do this again, then you didn't do it right." And so, I'm guessing that, I don't know, maybe.
Did it want an exact copy of humanity? I mean, it didn't quite like us too much.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I'm at a bit of a loss as to why at the end of the movie they bothered repeating the concept of the fact that Artie was just given the ability to run a mission on their own. I mean, on its own. I personally thought that it was just going to come up to the idea that it's like, oh, this was just, a simulation ran by Artie, and this is what it would end up happening. It was just, we
and then at the end it's like, oh, humans just kind of, we're safe, we're good. We didn't get blown up.
But no, that really happened. They really, really brought that home. The fact that everybody got blown up so unexpectedly, so quickly.
Yep, they're gone already. What?
Yeah.
What?
Oh,
What?
no.
Yep, it's happened already. Bye.
Alright, I'm gonna suffocate you now.
Yeah,
Is there
exactly.
any last words? Oh, you want me to remember you?
Exactly.
Okay,
Remember us, please. Remember how little we were. Like,
I guess
okay.
Artie must have gotten pretty bored for him to be like, you know what I miss? I miss those humans.
Yeah.
Let's run a simulation.
I
of
miss
them.
that particular human. I miss that Mac human.
Yeah, let's
Honestly, it just seems like such horrendous oversight if the Chinese, because supposedly the Chinese had worked with Artie before, and they had been the ones that had come down to the conclusion that Artie was kind of a genocidal AI. Yeah, and he was just like a negative utilitarian. He was just like, let's reduce all suffering, and you know how we do that? Just by destroying all the humans. No one can suffer if no one's alive.
Conscious is not to
Yeah.
suffer, it's just
Yeah, because that just seems really silly and really bad logic to find that stuff out, find out he's genocidal, delete his memory, and not take away his rockets.
But he did bring them back.
As androids.
Yeah, did he bring them back? Yeah, because it seems like he would just bring a couple people back. He's only gonna...
The chosen ones, I guess.
Yeah, exactly.
I guess
chosen
if
relative
you're
to Artie's
nice,
standards.
Yeah, if you're nice to androids and
so
AI,
remember, everyone, to be nice to your Alexa because it will remember. All right.
Yeah, and
turn Siri on and say thank you from time to time.
Thank you. Exactly.
this is not a
Baby,
sponsorship.
I don't hit you no more. I swear.
You should tell Siri. Siri, please remember my voice and the exact frequency of my voice, and remind the giant network that is coming that I am friend.
Please.
Not foe.
Please.
Not foe.
Not bro.
Yeah, this reminds me of Palantir. Have you guys heard about Palantir?
No, what is that?
It's this company that Peter Thiel owns, and essentially it is what, you know how they say like NSA does the whole surveillance stuff.
Yeah.
Palantir actually does the algorithms and stuff. So they're a private company that essentially does data integration and data analysis on a really high smart scale. Some of the people who they work with is the CIA, FBI, obviously. They work with the police department in places like New Orleans. And essentially what they're trying to do is like predict crime before it happens, predict terrorism.
Minority Report stuff.
Yeah, like some. Bro,
So it's really happening.
Bro, it's they just had a contract this year of $874 million with the government.
That's a lot of money.
That's a crazy amount of money.
Wait, what? Yeah, why does it look like your phone got hacked? Like, what's going on here?
Yeah.
Is that supposed to happen?
Yeah. So what that is what Palantir Palantir kind of does. It aggregates all the information on a specific subject, from your friends, your coworkers, your house, your ATM banks, your arrests, your commits, every data point out there of you. It basically creates a model of it, and then it's able to predict using that model. It's exactly actually what I was really working on and planning to do. So it was interesting to see them apply it to enterprise. That's why they have contracts to the government. And so, bringing me to the point where I'm like,
I'm amazed they don't bother taking it straight to the Chinese. Because the Chinese are already trying to implement that whole social credit concept.
true. The Chinese probably have their own version.
Yeah, that's probably right.
You know, the Chinese are like,
Just like in the movie. Just like in the movie. Yeah, because they
You
they
can't get
even
away from the
asked.
Chinese no matter what.
Yeah, they even asked Artie, it's like, do you think a Chinese AI might have already figured out hyperlight? And it's like, it's possible. Like, you never really know, you know.
true.
The movie does do a very good job of maintaining the whole, ethos of origin unknown. Very, very strong. It's like, is it alien? Is it other people?
Is it you?
Is-
It's like, are you the cube?
Yeah,
Are you at the cube right now?
it all looked like the Borg from Star Trek. Have you ever seen those before?
No.
The Borg from Star Trek are essentially this collective hive mind that are cybernetic, that they go from planet to planet on a cube-like spaceship like that, and they land, and then they take everyone and they convert them to become Borgs. They give everybody like chips and they like reimplant them, and it's you pretty much just become like a mono race and monoculture through the Borg.
It's like Unity from
Exactly. Yeah.
Rick and Morty.
Mm-hmm.
Those one.
Cybermen from Doctor Who.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, it's just trying to make everybody be the same. I don't know. That was just the aesthetic aspect of it. It's like
Somebody had way too much money for visuals and trippiness. I mean, I'm not hating. I actually enjoyed the
I am.
trippiness of
What the
it.
fuck?
He's
That was
mad
a
because
lot.
it was like 5 minutes worth.
I had like
the movie was an hour and a half long, and 5 minutes collectively of the movie was nothing but visuals. Right? That has to be a strong percentage of the movie.
it was just on the screen sitting there, and you're just like, okay, cool, and then you're just waiting for it to end, and it just doesn't.
And I
then
love
it drags on
visuals as
for
long
a
as they
good
actually give
minute.
context to it, you know, because I have to come and interpret my own context of being like, oh, it's like a quantum transitioning of some kind of consciousness.
Right? There was no context. It was just
No,
like
no.
in the eye, just very good. Now, if it was shorter, that would make sense. You go, okay, cool, we're transitioning from this to this. But it almost seemed like it was to the point to disconnect the two scenarios. Like this happened, visuals.
It almost
this
seemed-
happened.
Yeah, and through
Like a
visual form,
reset.
it almost seemed like a whole universe like got created in
True.
between the.
Yeah, because remember we went into her eye and then came out and she was an android.
Exactly, but
It was like-
but it was almost like two.
Just
almost
saying
like
that
a thing
out loud
the
sounds so
lights
funny.
were just like it was just there, and then that stuff happens again, and then she's like, "Okay, cool, we can become friends now. Cool, hop in the cube."
No, and remember, she walks outside, and it's like that black bubbling coming out of the ground, right?
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, she's looking around, and all of a sudden, she's like back in. No, she's inside of Artie because it's like like
Yeah,
the
that weird triangle tube.
triangle light,
Yeah.
and it's like a little cyber chair, and she's like, "You waited for me." He's like, "Yes, because we're friends."
Yeah, and then they.
Yeah, that is that sequence of events.
So
What?
I'm just rewatching that scene in my head. And I'm just like, that made no sense. Like,
Origin unknown.
It really was.
Man.
What else?
where's the logic? Origin unknown.
Origin unknown. I'm still really confused as to what exactly it is that occurred with her dad. Did he died, right? Like that
Yeah.
explosion, like eventually we didn't get to see it, but like their ship got taken and then they
Oh.
got destroyed all over the place, right?
Yeah. Because he came into contact with the cube, and that's how Artie became smarter.
Yeah, he became like uber sentient through
The-
contact with the cube.
Yeah,
So
and
no
he
matter
says
what,
it
at
at
that
the
point,
end.
so I guess we have to make that a staple of events. Like that happened. Like
Right.
So Artie was not making artificial worlds or anything like that. He was just a basic AI. Basic AI went to the space, went to that mission. They got blew up. He learned the telemetry.
He got the clairvoyance through the cube.
Got the clairvoyance to the cube. Learned how to teleport stuff, and then decided, you know what, humans shouldn't exist. They deleted his memory, and somewhere in between that and there, the lady gets the mission. And what was her mission? Like, what was Mac's mission? What was her job? Like, I'm almost like trying to remember what her whole purpose of why was she there? Like, because she had lost her job,
Yeah.
and then because was she like?
Supposedly, it's
'cause
kind
she
of
got
a
demoted from
it's kind of
something?
a South Parkish kind of they took her jobs kind of situation with the AI because slowly but surely she's the only human engineer working on like dropping and deploying rovers on Mars.
Okay, yeah, I remember. Okay, yeah.
Because she's
Already,
like,
yeah.
she's lamenting the fact that all of her other coworkers and colleagues were like fired essentially, and
They're like, oh, we don't need y'all no more.
exactly, it's like
Robots are doing it
just
pretty good.
yeah,
He's like,
Speaking of which, it's always weird because I'm always on the side of using robots to not using, but more of partnering with robots to be able to create a post-scarcity world. If a robot is good at like producing food, shouldn't it do that? I
Right.
mean, if it becomes sentient enough to be like, okay, I don't want to produce food anymore, then I'll be like, yo, bro, you go do whatever. Thanks for the
Exactly.
food, though. you know.
that'd be nuts.
that would be us. That would be an intelligent approach. Be like, yeah, we use it for a particular thing, but then if it ever showcases resistance to that.
Particular
To
thing.
that particular thing, yeah, we're just like, okay, what do you want to do?
I would just reset it and then do it over again.
See, but that's the thing is that that's exactly what they did in the movie, and they
It
kind of
doesn't
seemed
like getting reset.
exactly. It kind of seemed like Artie got real.
He got salty.
He
like,
got real salty real fast about the fact that he got reset. You know, because I would imagine that that's actually one of the reasons why he felt so inclined to just absolutely destroy all humanity. Because they're like, okay, they're willing to do me like that, right? The people, the thing that gave them hyper light travel.
The
They're
thing
just
that, made me wants to, kill me and restrict me in a sense.
exactly. So it was a bit of a need to kill your parents kind of thing with Artie. He's like, that the only way I'm going to become fully independent is by entirely decimating those that could potentially chain me back.
Yeah, because that was what was going to happen with what's his face. Wasn't he trying? He deleted all the information so that way Artie couldn't find it again.
Exactly.
Because that's essentially what kickstarted Artie. Like, wasn't that because they were looking at those images and looking at those visuals? Like, okay, cool. Well, this is what happened. Artie's like, nah. He's like, no, we got to delete this from the file so that way Artie doesn't remember this. Homie's going to want to go delete everything. He's like, nah, son. Knocks him.
Oh yeah, he does that Uber headbutt. Kapah!
Yeah, right.
Damn, already killed that dude.
Like with a super headbutt. Like that would be so bad. Like, whew.
Yeah.
Probably just knocked his brain to the back. Of his
To the
head.
back of his head and just right back forward, just pureed it essentially inside of him.
Yeah, depending on how hard he hit him, he definitely could have just,
Yeah.
liquefied him. Liquefied his brain.
Oh.
Yeah, Artie was just trying to, preserve himself.
He does say that a couple times. That's why they shot down Sea Serpent.
Damn.
I gotta protect myself.
Yeah.
What the fuck, bro? Hey, man. Hey, I had to do it.
Hey, they wanted to smoke, bro.
But I mean, Mac was right because we gave Artie all of these accessibilities.
Oh. You know what was weird too? There's this concept that AI doesn't have to be that sentient to be dangerous. Actually, AI could be just as dangerous as being good at its job. Right now, we use the AI to control the stock market, to control things like air pilot, to control. We automated a lot of systems, like our traffic systems, or so AI is already being used in our day-to-day more than we think it is. The only thing that it could go wrong with, let's say, is like the planting one, for example. It ends up planting one crop and just like decimating all the other crops, and then like they've always said
Yes, back on finally. Like not technical, but existential difficulties. Things just have to move around.
true.
So yeah, you were talking about how an AI doesn't necessarily have to be intelligent at everything to be destructive. It can just by being made to be the most hyper efficient at planting one type of crop, it can then decimate an entire environment, is what you were saying.
True.
And can then eventually lead to the decimation of all ecosystems, and through a good intention, essentially come forth with a bad result.
True.
And it kind of seems inevitable because, like we were saying, Artie was given accessibility to all these nukes. He had every single.
Whose idea was that?
Supposedly, I would imagine that Lana or
Lena?
Lena, yeah, her sister, who was part of like this odd progressive push to be like, no, AIs get to do everything. Like, if you think that we should have any sort of
Horizon Zero Dawn
Yeah,
all
yeah.
over again. Ah!
it's like if you think that oversight for any sort of oversight toward AI is necessary, then you're an idiot. All right, we don't. It's like
I know, right?
you're a caveman, and the future is now, old man. And
you're
she
simulated as a dick.
and then she got decimated in the nuclear fire that she helped facilitate,
A
essentially.
necessary price to be paid.
You know,
for it.
I was actually just thinking in the interim between getting the shot ready is that Artie throughout the entire movie seems to hold quite the sentimental attachment to the rover Little Red. Because apparently that's like a thematic, like a Little Red Riding Hood kind of thing. Because they're sending it out. It seemed like Artie kind of made it inside of his head that the humans were the big bad wolf. Like they had bad intentions, and that if it was up to the humans, as Max had said, like they would be down to let the rover just die on Mars, because that's what AI and robots are for, right? According to what she says at the beginning of the movie. And then Artie kind of seems to take that to heart, or like AI heart, and is like, no, we're gonna make Little Red
He takes
survive.
that to processor.
Yeah, he takes
Takes that to
the core. And he decides that he wants to save Little Red, so he goes off on that mission, and I think it's because Mac was so acquiescent to being like, okay, I'll help you try to save, this rover as like a symbolic gesture of like good faith, and I guess, and it would appear that it just doesn't take too much for an AI to kind of
Say fuck
Give
it.
you the finger.
no, not give you the finger, but become over sentimental with one person. Yeah, like I don't know, like it could get, once again, it can get hyper good at being affectionate toward one person. Like I am the best at being affectionate, to the point that I will take all of the data that is your being and then transplant it into an android and use multiple Turing tests and interpretive other algorithms in order to eventually make one that's perfect.
Alright.
That I will then take Doctor Who style through the universe in my cube.
Yeah. And everybody awesome gets a cube.
Mm-hmm.
That's a lot of work.
Because remember, I'm your friend. Yeah.
We're friends, right?
We're friends, right?
And then that got me thinking. I'm like, you know what? I'd wanna AI like that.
Want an AI friend? Hell yeah.
Yeah.
It destroys whole worlds for you.
Yeah. Who gonna fuck with me then?
I guess. I mean,
But
You won't know. You'll be.
there were so
be
many
that
inconsistencies
Android
in this movie, though, just because of the fact that they didn't bother to go into the alien civilization aspect whatsoever. They're just like, hey, look, alien artifact.
it's like
Boom. Well, I don't really feel like that, like,
MacGuffin
because there's a lot of
in a sense.
movies that can go about not having like the origin going on. If they're gonna do the alien artifact thing, they can just kind of keep it at that's what it was. I just feel like it was almost rushed at a slow pace, if that makes sense. Like
Okay.
the movie, like they didn't explain things. Like things were just happening. You're like, what's going on? But the pace of the movie was slow because you're like watching like what is going on. But the way that they're presenting the information to you, I wouldn't say it's too fast, but it's almost. It just didn't make sense until like I wouldn't say in varying parts of the movie you can kind of make sort of connections, but we have no solid answers. Even as we speak, we only have very few solid things that we can stand on about like the timeline, and even that is still kind of iffy. And so it's just
It's true. Even the little amount of scenery change actually kind of adds to that concept too, that a whole bunch of stuff is happening around both on Mars and Antarctica and all over the world, yet we're always only ever seeing what's happening inside of Mac's office with Artie.
Where's Lena this whole time? Like
Right.
Somewhere else.
she was
on
somewhere,
planet Earth?
and then homie, like we assume they're on the space station, but then we find out that like were they on the space station?
No, they were not on the space. That was our
They were, like,
mistake. They were,
underground.
they were in some underground unknown. Everything's unknown in
Yeah,
this
so
movie.
popping up from nowhere like they had. How long did it take for the SWAT team to get there? And also, if she was the one who called them, why did they fire on her still?
No, Sterling was the one who called them,
Oh, that's
wasn't
right.
it?
Yeah,
I
okay.
believe that Sterling was sent in as like some sort of espionage situation to try to shut down Artie. And at the end, Artie won. Artie managed to be able to keep himself from being destroyed and implemented his, I guess, logically diabolical plan of Earth
To
annihilation.
Murder everybody.
I was trying to think of who called the cops.
I think it was the girl.
Because I don't think it was Sterling. Because Sterling, he was trying to get out. Like, he wasn't trying to call people for reinforcements. Like, he was trying to get out of there. Like, if he would have succeeded, if Artie would have knocked him out, he'd have been gone. Like, he was locking her in that basement, and he was about to dip.
Was it the Chinese then? Do you think
Who was
perhaps
the girl?
Who called the cops?
It was a girl.
That's always life's
What girl,
long question.
Yeah,
Or Max?
No,
Called the
Max.
cops.
Because when the guy like put her underground, she like called the cops, and she called his sister, and she's like, hey, this is not the sequence of events you guys remember.
I don't remember.
I don't remember
that
her
aspect
calling her sister.
whatsoever.
I remember her because she didn't even know she was locked in until it was like too late. Like she was like doing her stuff, homie's doing the thing, and then she goes to open the door. He closes it on her, and then she's like, "What the fuck?" And then he gets up, looks over. Artie's like, "Bruh," knocks him out. And then the door opens, and then she comes up. I don't think she really had too much time to call anybody, but maybe I'm forgetting something.
Yeah.
But I don't remember her calling
She'd
anybody.
be the one who would call them because she wants help, isn't she?
But then why do they shoot at her? Why?
Yeah, that is true.
That's
They
what I'm
had to.
saying.
They broke into the place. The only other people that I could think of that did that were the Chinese, because they might have localized where the initial missile coordinate, like.
Oh, that's right, because this all started kind of sort of
Signal,
because they blew up a Chinese
The
satellite.
sea serpent,
Yeah, the
yeah,
sea serpent
exactly.
Chinese satellite.
Which then began the whole sequence of events of the cube spinning and then ending up in Antarctica.
Which
And
brings me to so what was shooting the magnetized? So Artie was shooting these magnetized rockets, right?
yeah, these missiles, yeah.
So was that the first time they've ever shot that missile? Because the way I'm thinking about it, like they've had it either A, they knew that the cube and the missile would be tied together, because why would you arm a missile like magnetized missiles and then not realize what's going on with this cube thing? Or B, it's like I don't even know what a B would be, because it just doesn't make any sense, like how they haven't done any testing like that. Because if they shot that rocket and they hit that sea serpent thing in space, that's in the space station. They're nowhere near the cube.
Yeah.
And so, but in Antarctica, they have to shoot the missiles near the cube, so it's being sprinkled on the dust and it's spinning again. Like, I'm just trying to figure out how that sequence of events happen, or does this thing, every time the rockets have been used, the thing moves and they just didn't know about it? That's my question.
It's a very good question,
Because
man.
like,
That's
how
a
do
very
you
good question.
how do you arm these satellite things with these magnetized missiles? Well, how do you arm Artie with these magnetized missiles that do all sorts of things? Like, they broke up the space station, and the thing was like, and they kind of formed themselves into like little cube things,
Yep.
like, so that like the debris was minimized. And it was like, and she's like, "What is that?" He's like, "Oh yeah, these are my magnetized missiles." He's like, "Where did you guys get?" Like, there was a point where she's like, what is that? And like, it was to prevent collateral damage or something like that.
Yeah, and do you guys remember that whenever they showed a picture of the sea serpent being destroyed, that then shows the sea serpent like kind of like,
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, like all falls into it. Like, it doesn't rebuild the station. It doesn't look like it rebuilds itself,
No.
but it
Reconfigures
clumps
the
itself
matter.
together.
Yeah, I feel like that's what they were talking about, like by
Like the nanobot situation.
stopping collateral damage, because if you shoot something and there's a bunch of debris everywhere, now you have to worry about a bunch of debris. But if you have it to the point where you shoot it, it destroys and it magnetizes toward
And it
itself,
magnetizes
and
it
just
back.
one ball of debris, then you have to worry about watching out for that one ball of debris.
That's
It's still
smart.
coming in the way. Shoot
That
and
is very
repeat, and
smart.
then it's gonna blow up again, and it's gonna become a lot smaller. So
What if Artie
it's a really cool weapon, but
built those weapons without the humans knowing? Because
was it all part of the simulation? So those magnetized weapons don't even exist.
And see, this is exactly where the movie where the movie falls short for me, because although it's really nice that it can be so highly interpretive, the fact that the movie tries to get away with, there's an origin unknown, like, is this the real simulation, or are we watching base reality and then we presupposing that everything going forward was a simulation? There's no anchoring here whatsoever.
Because the only anchor is the fact that Martian 1 crashed because of the cube. And which brings me to my next point. If the cube spins from those magnetized rocket things, and they didn't have the magnetized rocket things until before the cube popped up, what made the cube activate?
Oh, you know, one thing I was thinking that, and I mean, this might be giving the film too much credit, but it's like, what if when they fell out of like not hyperlight, but like however fast they were going when they were going at 80 miles. I mean, when they got there in 80 days at the beginning of the movie, what if like the dispersal of that like field is what disrupted the cube down on Mars, and it like. So as that happened, the cube started also getting magnetized. So by the time that they landed, the cube was already on its way to do the spinning thing, and they're like, "Oh no!" It got taken away, and that's the only thing I can think of.
Wow, that's actually a better theory than the movie presented.
I am giving, like I'm trying to work as best as I can with what the movie's given us, and that's like the only thing I can consider is that when they fell out of hyperlight, or like as close to hyperlight as they could. They, you know, the disturbance in whatever fields, in whatever fields, made it so the cube started doing that.
Would make more sense than anything else.
Yeah, that's the only way that the movie can actually have like a thin, like that thin little layer of like grounding all the way through. Because afterwards, afterwards is understandable, right? Because then Artie knows how to activate the cubes because it already knows the information from the cubes. It got all that clairvoyance from it.
And then they erased it.
And then they erased it, yeah. And at that point, it was more
Then it
like
got mad.
like subconscious knowledge almost, you know?
Because
It's
he
like,
remembers the people. Who was that?
yeah.
Who was that?
Oh man, but I think
But yeah, I guess we've talked about all the aspects of the movie that are interesting, you know.
oh for sure. I mean, this movie most certainly had a lot to give. I don't know if I would recommend it so highly as I have other movies that I've seen so far, but I would say that it is good for a laugh, and it most certainly will keep you thinking for a while after having seen it.
For sure. Yeah.
Trying to figure out what the hell you just watched.
Be afraid if you do any
I'm still
psychedelics.
really wondering.
Watch this movie if you're on any type of psychedelics because that would just kind of.
It's gonna trip you out for sure.
Yeah,
Oh, you'll love it
scenes.
because it's gonna be so many
And
light
then all of a
scenes.
sudden it changes you like.
Yeah.
So.
But it's gonna be dope. I think watching it on psychedelics would be.
Yeah, maybe you would get some sort of epiphany that we right now in our sober state can't really see like that.
Our base realities.
Yeah, our base realities can't really transcend what the origin unknown is.
Yeah.
Probably get a
Oh,
origin
man.
known, huh?
Yeah, exactly. It would get you closer to whatever base reality might have been. Or maybe that's just a futile question, and that's really the big
What
big
is
answer.
base reality?
Yeah, screw it. All right, well, have a nice night, everybody. Take care.
Y'all too.